Just connect with that inhale and exhale. Allow the breath to gently slow down as you come to presence on the mat. And just take a few more rounds of this inhale and exhale to slowly even out the breath. And if you notice that your breath is getting stuck anywhere, or if it's having trouble evening out, then just notice that. And over these next few rounds of breath, if you'd like to take deeper inhales, really making a point to send the breath through the heart and all the way down to the belly. And then gently let it exhale back out through the mouth. So inhaling through the heart, filling up the belly. And as you exhale, just gently part the lips. Gently let it back up. And over the next breath or so, return to your natural inhale and exhale, bringing the lips back together and sending that exhale out the nose. And then send the arms long overhead. Gently walk the shoulder blades together just ever so slightly under the body to shine that heart forward. And then send the legs long toward the bottom of the mat and take a nice big stretch here, out through the fingertips, out through the toes. And then as you exhale, find yourself in a tiny ball. So wrap your hands around your shins or behind your thighs. And one more time, extend it all the way out. Reach out through the fingertips and out through the toes. And one more time, come into that tiny ball. And then as you release, bring the soles of the feet back to the mat. Knees are bent. And you can open the eyes if they weren't already open. And just allow the hands to come out to this side. So palms face up, and then tuck that sacrum under so that the back is in full connection with the mat. Just feel that for a moment. Feel the abs sort of engage here as the back finds connection with the mat. And then if you need to, draw the shoulder blades once again gently together under the back, reset the sacrum, and then draw that right knee up to 90 degrees. Flex through the right foot, and then just tap down the right heel toward the mat. So keep it sacrum tucked, keep the lower back on the mat, tap the heel, and then bring the leg back up to 90 degrees. So just take 2 more of those. Tap the heel down and bring it back up. And one more time, tap the heel down and bring it back up. And then lower that foot back to the mat. So knees are bent toward the ceiling. Back is in full connection with the mat. And then we'll move to the left leg. Just drop the left knee out toward the side. So it might not connect with the ground. Mine does not, maybe yours will. And then bring it back to center. So drop the left knee out toward the side, sort of a half butterfly pose here, and then bring it back to center. And one more time, drop that left knee out toward the side and back to center. And then draw both knees up to 90 degrees, tuck that sacrum. And from here, take 5 heel taps. So tap the heels down toward the mat, engaging the core, and bring it back up. And you can take the next 4 at your own pace. And maybe your heels don't touch all the way down to the mat. That's okay. As long as the lower back, the sacrum, is staying in connection with the mat, you feel the core engage. And I'm on my last one, but no rush to get anywhere this morning. When you finish your rounds, just come back to that 90 degrees with the legs. And then drop the right foot down to the mat. And the left foot back down to the mat. Nice. And from here, draw that left leg back up to 90 degrees. And we'll take just 3 heel taps with the left leg alone. So drop that left heel and back up. And left heel tap and back up. And one more time, left heel taps and comes back up. And then draw that left foot back to the mat. And we'll just drop the right knee out toward the side. So in that half butterfly pose, the knee drops out toward the side of the mat and then back to center. And drop it out to the side and back up. And one last time, out to the side and draw it back up. And here, bring both legs to 90 degrees and then bring them straight up so that the soles of the feet face the ceiling. Flex through those toes. Feel the outer thighs engage. Tuck the lower back on the mat. So abs are active. And then from here, you will just draw the left leg out toward the side, only so far as you can keep the back in full connection with the mat. And then using the strength of the inner thigh here, draw it back to center. And drop it out to the side. The right foot stays flexed and back to center. And one more time, drop the left leg out to the side and then bring it back to center. Hug that left knee in toward the chest. And just feel, you can maybe rock the left knee from side to side. So we're gently warming up the legs and the hips here. And then re-extend the left foot up toward the sky. And we'll do the same thing on the right side. I'll just reposition a little bit here. So flex through those feet first. Feel the legs engage, the abs engage. And then drop the right foot out to the side and use the inner thigh to guide it back to the center. And 2 more. Last one. And then draw that right knee into the chest. Maybe give it a little rock back and forth. And once again, re-extend the right leg high toward the sky. And from here, draw the left knee in toward the chest and slowly tap the right heel down toward the mat. Foot stays flexed as you bring it back up to face the ceiling. And lower the heel down and rise back up. Take 3 more. Moving nice and slow. And then the next time the right foot comes to face the ceiling, keep it there. And then re-extend the left foot toward the sky and draw the right knee into the chest. And tap down that left heel toward the mat and rise back up. And tap and rise. And 3 more of these. And the next time that left foot comes back toward the sky, keep it there. And release the right foot toward the sky, flex through those feet. And this time, both legs will come out into a big V, or a small V, wherever your body is feeling it this morning. And just hold it out there with the strength of your legs. It should be a little bit easier to keep the back in connection with the mat here. At least it is for me. And really hold that V out, flex through the feet. Feel the inner thighs, the outer thighs, the hips working to keep yourself in this position. We'll take 2 more rounds of breath here. And then slowly using those inner thighs, gently bring the legs back to center and then hug both the knees into the chest. From here, bring both soles of the feet to the mat and cross the right ankle over the left thigh, taking a figure 4 position here. Flex through that right foot, and you can stay here. We'll be here for a couple rounds of breath, or you can draw in that figure 4 closer to the body, grabbing behind the thigh or in front of the shin, just being gentle since it's the beginning of the practice here. Let the shoulders melt down toward the mat. Let the face be soft, maybe unhinging the jaw. And then bring the sole of the left foot back to the mat. Bring the arms to cactus and just drop that figure 4 over to the left. So the right sole of the foot finds the ground beside you and the gaze could go over the right shoulder. One more breath here. And then bring that whole figure 4 back to center. Stay crossed here and just let the right knee drop toward the right side. So get that counter twist. Gaze can go over the left shoulder. And then bring it back to center. Uncross the legs. And you can send the arms down long if you want to as we move to the other side. So cross the left ankle over the right thigh. Stay right here or draw that figure 4 in closer to the body. Wherever you are, let the upper body relax. And if it isn't already, bring that right sole of the foot back to the floor. Bring the arms to cactus, gaze over the left shoulder as you drop that figure 4 over toward the right side. And the left knee should be pointing toward the ceiling, maybe not directly, but tracking that way. And so if it's helpful, you can bring your right hand to your left thigh just to give it a little bit of kickstand. And then rock it back to center. Gaze over the right shoulder as you drop the left knee toward the left, finding that counter twist. And then bring it back to center. Uncross the foot and draw both knees into the chest. Clasp behind the thighs here. We'll take a couple of rock and rolls, finding yourself to come up all the way into a forward fold. So take as many rock and rolls, eventually planting the feet. Find yourself at the top of your mat in a forward fold. Let the head hang heavy, hands can hang heavy, maybe even sway a little bit from side to side. Make sure that feet are hips width distance apart. And then come back to center, find some stillness from your swaying. Inhale to halfway lift, fingertips come toward top of shins. Exhale to forward fold. Sweep the arms out, up and overhead, rising for the first time in this practice. Look up, maybe palms come to touch. And then exhale, hands come through heart center. Inhale the arms out and up. And exhale to swan dive forward, finding yourself in that forward fold again. This time, grab opposite elbows and find that sway from side to side again. Let the head hang heavy. And then come back to center, release the elbows. Inhale to halfway lift. Exhale to forward fold. Sweep the arms out, up and overhead. Palms come to touch, gaze goes up. Exhale, hands through heart center. Inhale the arms out and up. This time, bend the knees, sink down, chair pose. So tuck that tailbone under a little bit. Feet can be hips width distance apart, or you can even bring them to touch. Holding here, really just feel which muscles you're engaging. And then press into the feet to rise all the way up. One more time, sink down into chair pose, bend the knees, tuck the tailbone. See that your glutes are engaged here, that your thighs are engaged. And then press into the feet, rise all the way up. From here, bring the hands to heart center and step the right foot to the back of the mat. So find yourself in a high lunge with hands at heart center. Just gaze forward and then release the arms up and overhead. Energy out through the fingertips, deep bend in that left knee. From here, twist over to the left. Feel that the obliques engage. And then back to center. Step the right foot forward, coming into chair pose. And then rise up, straighten the legs. Bring the hands to heart center. And sink down into chair. And then step the left foot all the way back, coming into that high lunge. Then release the arms up and overhead. Energy up and out. And twist over toward the right. Come back through your high lunge. Step the left foot forward into chair. Hold here for 2 full rounds of breath. Engage the glutes, engage the thighs. And then press into the feet to rise all the way up. Hands through heart center, swan dive forward. Plant the hands on the mat and step back into plank pose. Holding in plank. And then press it back into downward facing dog. First one of the practice. So pedal it out. And then eventually come to stillness. Noticing the engagement of the legs as you track the heels down toward the mat. So when I say that, even if they don't move any closer to the mat, that energy is moving and you're getting a little bit more stretch in the back of the leg. From here, inhale the right leg up and back. And bend the knee to open the hip. And then re-extend that right leg long and step it through in between your hands. From here, rise all the way up, high lunge. So really root down, find your balance here. And then what we're gonna do is to sweep open into goddess. So feet are wide toward the long side of your mat, knees are nice and bent, toes are pointed outward. Hug the shoulder blades together. We're gonna move a little bit faster here. So release back into your high lunge. Tuck those back toes, arms go up and overhead. A little bit of a balance challenge to move from one to the next. Then open up into your goddess, sink a little lower. Release back into your high lunge, bend that front knee. Back to goddess, and then back to high lunge. We'll do that 2 more times. Goddess, sink nice and low. High lunge, just 1 more time. And goddess, and high lunge. Hold here, bend through that front leg, and then frame the front foot, plant the left palm, right arm floats up to the sky. Reframe the right foot, step it back, downward facing dog. Pedal it out or stay in the stillness. And then inhale the left leg back up behind you. Bend the knee to open the hip. Re-extend that left leg long and step it through in between the hands. Rise up into high lunge, arms up and overhead. And then we'll do the same thing. So sweep it open into goddess. Tuck the tailbone, sink nice and low. Sweep it back, high lunge. Open up into goddess. Sweep it back into high lunge. 3 more times. Sweep it open to goddess. And back. 2 more at your own pace. And back to high lunge. Hold here. And then reframe that left foot. Plant the right palm this time. Left arm floats up to the sky. Reframe the front foot. Step it back, downward facing dog. Press those heels down toward the mat. And then bring the toes together, knees nice and wide. Child's pose. Let the breath come back to normal. Let it slow down just a little bit. Hips should feel pretty open at this point. One more breath here to really settle in, sink in. And then rise back up into tabletop pose. So on all fours, making sure the wrists are beneath the shoulders, knees are below the hips, toes are pointed back toward the back of your mat. And then from here, just sweep the right leg forward in between your hands, finding yourself in this low supported lunge. And rise up, just bring the hands up and overhead. So sink down a little bit more. Feel that left hip flexor, which should be pretty open. And then bring both hands inside that right foot. And continue to walk yourself over just until your hands are at the side. The right knee is still bent and facing forward, and the left knee is still bent and facing forward. Your body is just pointing toward the long side of your mat. So hopefully you can see that here. And continue to walk your hands toward the back of your mat as much as you can to straighten that right leg. Foot points toward the ceiling. And then start to walk yourself back, re-bend that right knee. You are still pointed toward the long side of your mat. And then walk your fingertips toward the back, straightening that right leg. And then walk it back, re-bend that right knee. And one more time. walk the fingertips toward the back of your mat. And then walk them back forward, rebend that right knee, and then reframe the right foot here. One more time, rising up into that low supported lunge. And then reframe and just step that right leg back, coming into tabletop pose. So just rock your hips from side to side here to sort of let that last side go. I'm gonna switch sides here. So this time you'll bring the left leg forward in between the hands. So first, just allow yourself to feel that right hip flexor opening. And then rise up, low supported lunge. And bring both hands to the inside of your left foot. So we'll do that kind of funky move again. So you'll bend through both knees, body points toward the long side of your mat. And then continue to walk the hands toward the back as you straighten through the left leg. Left toes point toward the ceiling. Then walk your hands back toward the middle of the long side of your mat. Rebend that left knee. And walk the hands toward the back. One more time, walk it forward. Bend through that left knee. And then walk it back. And then walk it all the way forward to reframe that left foot. Rise back up into your low supported lunge. And then reframe the left foot. Tuck the right toes, push back into downward facing dog. Pedal it out here. And then once again, inhale that right leg back up behind you, bend through the knee to open the hip. You can take some movement here, or you can stay in stillness. We'll be here for just a couple more rounds of breath. And then re-extend the right leg long behind you, sweep it through in between the hands, immediately rising up into your high lunge. Twist over toward the right, really bending through that right leg. And then once again, we're gonna take those, so you're twisted, then bring the arms up and overhead to high lunge. And we're gonna take those goddess moves to high lunge again. So open up to goddess, arms come to cactus, draw the shoulder blades together, and then sweep it back forward, high lunge. Sweep it open to goddess, and back to high lunge. 3 more at your own pace. Sink nice and low. And we'll end meeting in high lunge whenever you get there. And then one more time, open up into goddess. Bring your hands onto your thighs. The fingertips can face back and sink a little bit lower. Begin to drop that one shoulder toward the center, and then drop the other shoulder toward the center. Take 2 more of those, 2 more full rounds. Really feel those legs working here. And then come back to center. Bring the hands to heart center and press into the feet. Rise up. So your toes are pointed out. I'm gonna adjust my toes a little so they're at more of a 45-degree angle. And then I'm gonna hinge at the hips, fold forward. And I'm not mirroring you here. Walk yourself over toward your right leg. So bend your right knee. Left toes face up toward the sky. So you should be feeling this in the inner right thigh. And then if you'd like a little balance, bring your hands to heart center. Just hold here for a moment. You can even bring your arms all the way up overhead. And if that feels super comfortable, you can try closing your eyes, which I always find almost impossible. Bring your hands back to center, if they aren't already, back to heart center, and then back to the mat. Begin to walk yourself over, bending that left knee, right leg goes long. Once again, bringing the hands to heart center, or bring the arms up overhead, or you can close your eyes wherever you are. Sit up nice and tall. And then hands back through heart center, back to the mat, and walk them all the way back forward, bending that front right knee, plant and finding yourself in a low lunge. Plant the left palm, right arm once again floats up to the sky. Then reframe that right foot. Bring the left foot forward to meet the right, rise up into chair pose. Sink a little bit lower. And then forward fold, plant the hands, step the feet back, downward facing dog. Inhale the left leg back up behind you. Bend through the knee to open the hip, staying in stillness or finding some movement. We'll be here for a couple rounds of breath. And then re-extend that left leg, coming all the way through, rising immediately up into your high lunge. So bend through that left knee. Arms are strong and straight. And we'll take 5 of those goddess back to high lunge moves. So open up into goddess, sink a little bit lower, and then sweep it back, high lunge. 4 more at your own pace. I'm going to take 1 more. We'll meet in high lunge. And then bring both hands to the inside of your left foot. And begin to walk yourself over toward the side of your mat. Once again, finding yourself with your left knee bent, your right leg long, toes pointed toward the sky. Bring your hands to heart center. And you can stay here. We're gonna walk from side to side. So you can keep your hands at heart center and use this as a little challenge this morning. It's a little balance, or you can use your hands on the mat. Whatever works for you. So just gently move from side to side, staying as low to the mat as you can. And then the next time your left knee bends, just plant your hands and find yourself in that wide-legged forward fold. Allow your head to hang heavy. Fingertips can be on the mat or on a block or bolster. And then just send your weight toward the center of your foot, just so you're nice and even, your hips are centered. See if you can release just a little bit more, getting that head just a tiny bit closer to the mat. And then walk your hands back over to your left foot. Frame that left foot. Find yourself in a low lunge. Plant the right palm. Left arm floats up to the sky. And then frame that left foot. Bring the right foot forward to meet the left. Rise up into chair pose. Sink down a little bit more. And I'm going to face you for this. I will mirror you this time. So stand onto your right foot. Straighten your right leg as your left leg comes up to 90 degrees. And then cross your ankle over your left thigh. Over your right thigh. And then sink down, gentleman style chair. Arms stay nice and straight. See if you can sink just a little bit more. And then straighten the right leg. Rise up, left leg comes to 90 degrees. Sweep it out to the side and see if you can find a tree pose. So I'm gonna help my foot a little bit higher. And once you find your tree, wherever that is, maybe you wave your branches or your hands come to heart center. Allow yourself to really root into that standing leg and to stand nice and tall, a proud tree. Bring that left leg back to 90 degrees. Once again, sink down into chair pose. If your arms get tired here, you can bring them wherever they're comfortable. And then press into that left foot, rise all the way up, bringing the right foot up to 90 degrees. Stand nice and tall first, and then cross the right ankle over the left thigh, sinking down, gentleman style chair. Flex through the right foot, root down in the left, and then rise back up. Knee comes to 90 degrees, and sweep it out to the side, coming into tree pose on this side. So use your hand to help if you need it. Arms up or at heart center. Wherever you are, standing nice and tall, crown of the head reaches up toward the sky. Beautiful. And then bring that right leg back to 90 degrees. Once again, sinking down into chair pose, tuck that tail, and find your forward fold. Plant the hands, step it back into plank pose. And we'll take a couple knee taps here. So bend through the knees, hover them on the mat or tap, and then re-straighten. So use that core here. Tap and straighten. 3 more. Tap and straighten, and tap and straighten. 1 more. Find yourself in plank, and then lower your knees down to the mat. Lower down your chest and chin, hips stay high to the sky, and then release forward. First baby cobra of today's practice. Take a full round of breath here in baby cobra. And then release back down. Tuck the toes, meeting back in downward facing dog. And then take tiny steps toward the top of the mat. Find yourself once again in the ragdoll forward fold. Coming back to center. Inhale to halfway lift. Exhale to forward fold. Sweep the arms out, up and overhead. Exhale, hands through heart center. Keep your hands at heart center, rooting down into that right foot. Kickstand the left foot out to the side. So first, hug that right hip in. Left knee is facing out toward the side. And bring that left leg out toward 90 degrees to the side. Staying nice and rooted in that right foot, nice and centered. And then tap it back down toward the inner arch of your foot and back out to the side. Tap it down, rise back up, 3 more. We'll meet with our leg out to the side in 90 degrees. Yeah, nice. And then step it behind you for a curtsy, getting as low as you can. And then sweep it back out to the side, dragging those toes 90 degrees. Back behind you for a curtsy, get nice and low. Sweep it back out to the side. We'll take 3 more. Sweep it out to the side. Stand up nice and tall for another round of breath. And then bring that knee forward and release it back down. You can pedal out the legs here. Nice job. Okay. Bring the arms up and overhead. Bring the hands to heart center. This time rooting down into the left foot as you kickstand the right foot out to the side. Once again, bring that left hip in and right knee faces out toward the side. And rise up and tap it toward the inner arch of your foot. And rise up and tap. 3 more. We'll meet with that leg out to the side in 90 degrees. Hug that left hip in if you need a reminder like I did. And then we'll take 5 curtsies. So sweep it behind, get as low as you can, and then back out to the side. 4 more at your own pace. And we'll meet with that leg in 90 degrees out to the side. Woo. Sweep it back to center and bring it back down, pedaling out those feet. 1 more time. Sweep the arms out, up and overhead. Exhale, hands through heart center. Plant the palms, step it back into plank pose. Bring the right foot to the outside of the right hand. Bring the left foot to the outside of the left hand. And then step the right foot back, step the left foot back, plank pose. This time, step the left foot to the outside of the left hand, right foot to the outside of the right hand. Step the left foot back, step the right foot back, plank pose. 2 more, 1 more on each side. Right foot to right hand, left foot to left hand. Right foot back, left foot back. Left foot forward, right foot forward, left foot back, and right foot back, plank pose. Hold here for 3 rounds of breath. And then optional vinyasa, knees, chest, chin, or your choice. We'll meet back in a child's pose. Toes together, knees nice and wide. You can stay active here by bringing the elbows off the mat, or you can bring the elbows down to the mat for a little bit of a gentler pose. There's 2 more rounds of breath here. And then press into the palms. Tuck the toes, downward facing dog. Inhale the right leg back up behind you. Exhale to step it through in between the hands. Lower the left knee down, untuck the toes or keep them tucked, up to you. Rise up, low lunge. Reframe that right foot, plant the left palm, right arm floats up to the sky and stay here, or you can begin to bend that left knee and reach back for the left foot. Wherever you are, see if you can find some ease. And then if you've grabbed that left foot, let it go. We'll meet in that low lunge twist. And then reframe the right foot. Tuck the left toes, bringing the knee up off the mat. Step it back, downward facing dog. Inhale the left leg back up behind you. Exhale to step it through in between the hands. Lower the right knee down, toes tucked or untucked. Rise up, low lunge. And then open up toward the left. Oh, actually, sorry, wrong way. Yes, we're gonna open up toward the left. And then if it's calling to you, you can grab for that right foot. If you've reached for the right foot, let it go. And then frame that left foot. Tuck the right toes, knee comes off the mat, downward facing dog. And then take tiny steps toward the middle of your mat. And then from here, we're just gonna bring the feet, you can hop them toward either side of your feet or get them to either side of your feet any way that you want to. Find yourself in Ardha Malasana first. So come onto your fingertips. Toes are pointed out, heels slightly in. And then bring your hands to heart center. You can sink down a little bit more if that's calling to you. And then from here, just sit all the way down on your mat. Bring your legs out long in front of you. Flex through those toes. Bend the right knee in toward the chest, sitting up nice and tall. And then cross that right foot over the left thigh. Right sole of the foot finds the mat behind your left thigh. Knee is hugged in toward the chest as close as you can get it. And then inhale the arms up and overhead. Twist over toward the right. You can hook the forearm or elbow. And then unwind, plant the palms toward the outside of the left thigh, gentle counter twist. And then come back to center. Both legs long in front of you, give them a little shake. And we'll do this on the other side. So left knee comes in toward the chest, and then cross the left foot over the right thigh. Inhale the arms up and overhead, and twist over toward the left. And come back through center, bring the palms to the outside of the right thigh. And then back through center, both legs long out in front of you. Shake through the legs. And we'll take one more pose before we get to our peak pose here. So bring the soles of the feet together, coming to butterfly pose. So if it's better for you to have your heels in close, have them far away, totally up to you. Just in place that you can stay for a few rounds of breath. And then either rock side to side to get that flesh out of the way, or maybe move it with your hands so that you're actually on your sits bones here. And flat back here, begin to walk yourself forward just until you feel the right amount of stretch for you. So maybe you're flexible enough to bring your forehead all the way down to the ground, or maybe sitting up nice and tall feels like enough of a stretch. Use your breath to help you settle in a little bit more wherever you are. And then slowly rise back up. With the help of your hands, bring your knees back to center. And then just swing your legs out to the side and then come to sit on your heels for a second. So we're gonna get into frog pose here. So bring your hands out in front of you. I'll show you this from a couple of different angles, but first, bring your knees wider than hips width. And then see if you can bring them even wider. So as wide as feels good for you. I guess if you were super flexy, maybe your pelvis would touch the ground. Mine is nowhere close. And then bring your feet a little wider than your knees. And then flex through your toes. And this is where a bolster or blanket block might be helpful here. You can stay up right here on your hands, or you can begin to come down onto your forearms, feeling that stretch on the inner thighs, feeling it in the hips. And we'll be here for several rounds of breath. I'm just going to show you from a different angle. Really flex through those toes. Just 2 more rounds of breath. And if you aren't already on your hands, come back up to your hands. And then send your lower leg in line with your knee. And then you can walk your knees back in, coming into a tabletop pose. Just take a couple rounds of cat-cow here. And then come back to center. Send that right leg long behind you and step it through for the last time in between your hands. The left knee should already be on the mat. And then rise up for the last time, low supported lunge. See if you can notice any difference in that left hip flexor from the beginning of class to now. And then bring your hands back down. Just step your right leg back, finding yourself in that tabletop once more. Send your left leg long behind you and step it through in between your hands. Adjust however you need to rise up into your last low lunge. Once again, noticing that right hip this time, seeing if there's any difference. And then lower the hands down to the mat. Coming back to tabletop, rock the hips from side to side. And then however you want to get there, find yourself on your back. Knees are pointed up toward the sky. We'll take some of the same moves we did at the beginning of class. So hug your right knee into your chest and send your left foot to face the sky. Flex through the foot. Make sure the upper body is relaxed and that the lower back is in connection with the mat. We'll take 5 heel taps here. So flex through the left foot and lower it down toward the mat and rise. And lower and rise. 3 more. The next time your left sole of the foot comes to face the sky, keep it there. Release the right sole of the foot back to the mat and just sweep the arms out of the way a little bit as you open up the left foot out to the left side. Again, moving only so far as you can keep the back in connection with the mat and then raise it back up to face the sky. Lower it out to the side. And rise back up. Last one. And then just draw that left knee in toward the chest. Bring the right sole of the foot to face the sky, so leg is nice and straight. And we'll take those 5 heel taps on this side. So flex through the right toes and then lower the heel. Rise back up. Lower. And rise. 3 more. And the next time the right sole of the foot comes to face the sky, keep it there. Lower the left sole of the foot down to the mat, knee faces the ceiling. Once again, back is in connection with the mat. Right leg is nice and strong and just open it up out to the right side and back to center. Open it up, back to center. Last time. And then hug that right knee into the chest and release it down to the mat to meet the left. From here, bring both soles of the feet to face the sky and open the legs out nice and wide. You can bring your hands to your inner thighs for even a little bit more weight to open them up a little bit more. Flex through the toes. Or you can take your hands off and just use the strength of your legs to stay here. We'll be here for just a couple more rounds of breath. Use the strength of your legs over the next breath or so to bring them to face toward the sky, and then draw both knees into the chest. Release the feet back to the mat. And from here, cross the right thigh over the left thigh. So all the way over. Scoot the hips over to the right an inch or so. Bring the arms out to a T and drop the knees over to the left. Gaze over the right shoulder. In these final poses, just seeing if you can feel the difference from the beginning until now, or use your breath to find some final moments of release. And then rock the knees back to center, gaze back to center. Scoot the hips back to center and uncross the legs. Lots of steps in this one. And then cross the left thigh over the right thigh. Scoot the hips over to the left. And drop the knees over to the right, gaze over the left shoulder. And slowly bring it back to center, hips back to center, uncross the legs. And there's a moment here to take any final pose or shape that's calling to you. I'm going to take some big knee circles. Maybe a happy baby is calling to you, or maybe you're ready for Shavasana. And once you're ready for Shavasana, send your legs long toward the bottom of the mat. Arms out nice and wide, shoulder blades tucked under so that the heart shines up toward the sky. And then just let yourself be here for the next minute or so. Bring awareness back to your breath. And take any movement that your body is calling for. Eventually, no rush, rolling over onto your side. And we'll meet in a seated position whenever you get there. Bring your hands to heart center, eyes to close. We'll take one final breath together. As you inhale, bring it in through the nose and really fill your belly up. Hold it out in extension. And then gently let it back out through the mouth. Thank you so much for joining me today. Namaste.